In this video, I'm going to show you how to reprogram your subconscious mind. By the time you're 35 years old, 95% of your life is run by your subconscious. And unless you get really clear on what that program is and update that program, you're going to continue to run it on autopilot. Even though you might work really, really hard to make changes to your outer world, subconsciously the same program is running. Therefore, the same circumstances will keep getting recreated. And you know I don't just want to tell you, I'm going to show you. So I have a little bit of an unusual setup featuring Neil Diamond that's going to help you better understand exactly how to start adjusting your subconscious so that you can start to reprogram it and change the programs to align with the ones that are going to create your ideal life, the one that you really deserve. So let's get started. Here we are as promised, and even though this might look like a record player, it's actually your subconscious mind. And even though these two things beside me with Neil Diamond on them, they might look like records, but they're not. They're actually programs. So what I want to show you is how your subconscious actually works. This first program is going to be the record called You Don't Bring Me Flowers by Neil Diamond. And it's going to represent if you grew up in an environment where your emotional connection was uncertain. Maybe your caretaker was physically around, but emotionally they would kind of go on and off. It would feel like they were connected and then something would happen and they were not connected. And so it left you very confused on what you needed to do or what you had done in order to lose that connection. Maybe you had a lot of siblings, maybe your parent was really emotionally overwhelmed from their past, or maybe they had a lot of responsibilities at their work, but it led you to believe that you were doing something where you weren't good enough to be loved, or you didn't deserve that love. So that's what you grew up in, and realize this program happened between 0 and 7 years old. The reason why this program got imprinted and impressed into your mind is because that's when you're in theta brainwave. So at that time, you're kind of like, okay, observing unconsciously, you're not aware of this, but how am I supposed to human? How do relationships work? How do people treat me? What do I deserve? And you're downloading from your early on circumstances. Those early on interpersonal relationships are literally what shapes your mind, and your mind is how you perceive, how you see the world. So this is your first impression. So we're going to go ahead and put that on and start to play. And maybe for you in your adult life, you keep finding emotionally unavailable people. This could actually be also something at your job. Maybe this could also be represented in money. It's a feast or famine. Sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. And something outside of your power comes in and you're not able to maintain that connection for you to feel safe. Now, the hot August night is going to represent the program where you're whole and complete and you're deserving and worthy of love. And I'll get to that in a minute. The reason why it's important to change this program is because right now, even though you probably can't hear it, the music is playing. The program is influencing everything you see right now. And in fact, the subconscious takes in between 10 to 50 million bits of information every single second and sorts it out. Everything other than what is aligned with this album. So you might be trying and putting a lot of energy and like, okay, you know what? I am worthy. I am deserving. So, okay, I am worthy. Visualizing, okay? And you're spending a lot of time and you're trying to feel that. You're trying to think of what it would be like to experience a relationship where someone was consistent. Okay, you're saying I am deserving. Alrighty. And maybe you're like, okay, I have this past where I was treated really poorly and I feel like I'm not good enough, but I'm going to affirm and I'm going to visualize and I'm going to script that I am good enough. So you put those all on there and you can see that has not affected at all the program running. It's sitting on top. That's because your mind, mental chatter and mental communication, that's not how the subconscious works. That's not the language of the subconscious. Remember, the subconscious brainwave is theta. That's the same brainwave you were in between 0 and 7 years old. That's why it's so influential. If you're in beta brainwave right now, trying to tell your subconscious to knock it off, to start being hot August night, well, nothing's actually changed because the communication doesn't actually get received by the subconscious. So the only way to experience the circumstances of secure love and emotional consistency is through this program. So the only way to run it is by removing the old program, putting that new program on, and running it. This is the only way to change your outside circumstances. If not, you'll keep working really hard and trying, and maybe you see a little bit of progress and then you go right back to the beginning. This also represents your psychocybernetic mechanism, that comfort zone. If you start experiencing something outside of this, you literally will sabotage, and maybe you do find somebody and they are saying, wow, you're really great, you're really attractive, and you're like, wow, that's weird. What do they want from me? Or maybe you think, oh, they're just saying that because they're being nice. Have you ever experienced that, where you actually reject that compliment or that nice energy from somebody because you don't see yourself as that? There's no judgment in that, but it's important for you to understand that until you change your self-image or this old outdated program, then you won't be able to receive it. So another big thing about changing these subconscious programs is then you'll be able to actually see yourself as it, and that energy feels natural and comfortable, and you also don't have to work so hard to get this song to play. Because I'm not even thinking about it, right? And yet this song has been playing the whole time. And it's influencing what I perceive of. It's influencing what I'm attracting to me in my life. As Dr. Joe Dispenza says, your electromagnetic signature, the magnetic part, the stronger part is your feelings, is your subconscious. So now that you visually understand how important it is to change those subconscious programs, let me show you how to do this. We go right back to the origin of things. So like I mentioned before, those records, those programs come from this early dynamic. We're not blaming this person, but we want to honor what you went through. This is the first step. This is going to help to dissolve the truth of that old program. So because you checked in with this person had that superiority because they were the ones who knew better. And if they didn't know better, then your survival was very compromised. You had to check in so that you could belong. That was very important. So maybe you had a parent who was physically there, like I mentioned earlier in that first early on program, but then they would go, or they'd be too busy to interact. But some days they'd be okay, but other days they weren't there. Maybe they were like, oh, you just asked for too much. God, can you just go away? Give me some space. And you would think, wow, what I need is too much. I better, calm down or like hide my real self. And you might start to edit and adjust who you think they want you to be so that you'll maintain a connection, because it's a very primal need for you to have a sense of belonging at this age. But in that program, you could think, I'm just not worthy. If I was worthy, this person who knows better than me, they would love and accept me. So surely I'm doing something wrong. So you move on in your adult life and you find people who match this same energy because of whatever happens coming into them. The people that are doing this, they're not bad people, but they're matching an energy dynamic of the expectation you have based on this program. So the more you can start to see, wait a second, I didn't do anything that would cause this person to go away. It wasn't my fault. I wasn't lacking anything. I was actually always worthy. I just thought if I would have done something different or better, they wouldn't have done that. They would have been more consistent and I would have been able to maintain it. I should have worked harder. I could have earned it. And this could be right now your current situations with relationships, with money, with your career, that you want to work really hard to prove, because then if you did, they would maintain that connection. If you can start to look back with your adult mind now and say, wow, your parent had a lot of emotions and a lot of trauma in their past, and I could see how they were on, they were off, they were on, they were off, and I wasn't doing that. Understanding this is the first major part. This can help stop feeding that program so you can start to step out of it, which is going to lead to this. So as you're starting to cut the cords of what actually formed that program, the other thing you can do is going to be actually stepping out of it in the current moment. So this looks like, okay, so since we're talking about emotional abandonment, maybe you're dating somebody and things are going pretty good. You like this person and you're like, hey, you want to do another date? Maybe this is date 3 and you're like, I'd love to take you out to that new wine bar. And they're like, you know what? This isn't working out for me. Thanks. Or maybe they just never respond to your text again. And you're like, oh my God. Oh man, here we go again. What did I do? And you maybe scroll back through the messages, just churning through all the conversations you can remember. What did I say that caused them to leave, that caused them to no longer be interested. Surely I did something. So starting to mind this gap, because the meaning that you put as to why that other person is doing that, why they're leaving you, if you make it about what you lack, that's the old program. Remember earlier how it was like, okay, the caretaker's on, they're off. What am I doing? The same thing is happening in your adult life. So you've got to mind the gap, and that's going to be through ABC. Awareness. Oh, I'm starting to tell myself that old story. Okay, I'm aware that the story I want to tell myself is I've done something wrong. I've caused them. I'm putting the meaning that I'm wrong, I'm bad, I'm not good enough. Okay, I'm going to breathe through this. I've got to regulate. I got to bring my nervous system and calm it down because it's wanting to respond. It's wanting to dysregulate. And one thing that Dr. Peter Levine recommends to help with your vagus nerve, which is what helps you to stay in your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the one that's peaceful and it is rest and digest, is actually something you can do very easily. And it's to make the sound VOO. So V, and then the double O is like you would say you. So VOO. As silly as that might sound, it's stimulating the nerve that's actually going to calm down and shift your body into rest and relax, peace, as opposed to get, oh God, here we go again. My nervous system is getting dysregulated. I'm telling the old story and I'm a powerless little kid who cannot get their needs met. As you start to mind this gap and you start to breathe the regulate nervous system, you can then do C, which is make a new choice, which is aligned. You know what? I'm not sure. Maybe they didn't like me. And you know what? I know I have a lot to offer. I know I'm wonderful. Maybe they got their own shit. Maybe they just didn't vibe with what I have to offer. And I know that I have a lot to offer and I love me and I accept me. And I know I'm going to find somebody who loves me and sees me the way I do. Making that new choice because you're starting to let go of the idea that the reason your caregiver early on that formed the program did it because of you. So if you can mind the gap and start doing that and calm that nervous system by that breath, by the VOO, then you can actually tap into the ability to make a new choice, which is align with that new subconscious program. If you want some more support on how to change a belief before there's any proof, this next video is going to help you with that. Thank you so much for watching. I love y'all. If you want to support this video, click like. If you want videos more like this, join the community, and I will see you on the next one.